All right, so this conversation is really around one thing, and that is where's the real estate industry going, and why do you personally care? So there's let's just put something to bed real quick here, okay? And I don't know where rumors get started. I don't have any idea about that. But there apparently became a rumor at some point that Gary Keller did not care about our market center owners and our franchises and the people that run those businesses. And I want to patently say that that's hogwash. Yeah, you can clap for that. I want to, and you can ask me any question you want. We have people with microphones, or you can stand up and yell. But the only way that I can even fathom that rumor got started is the last 5 to 7 years. The leadership in our firm, and there are no good guys or bad guys, but the leadership in our firm asked me to stay away from market center and regional leadership. And they asked me to simply focus on real estate agents. I'm a team player, and that's what I did. And so that's where I've been. Now, I weaponized those agents. Okay? And I'm here to weaponize you. Okay? So at the end of the day, the most important people in this organization, in our minds, is the agent. We all understand that's who we are as a company, but I want you to understand that the most important business people in this firm to us are our market center owners. Without our market center owners, we don't have a business. These are the men and women, who take financial risk, you take legal risk, and you literally have built this organization. So I just want to be real clear about this, right? I think the way that those rumors also get started is people kind of take what I say out of context. So let's be real clear about this. I am a fierce competitor, and I fight for you, and I want you to fight for you. And right now in this industry, you need to be ready for the fight. Okay? Okay, so can we talk about that? Yeah. So what I want to do is we're gonna make this conversation about, I don't know. Okay, I need the ELMO on. That's a picture of pins. There we go. Okay, that works. Just making sure it's real. Got to keep it real. So what we want to do is our goal is, by the time we walk out this morning, is that you are beginning to have a solid grasp on what's coming in our industry and what we have done to begin to weaponize you for that. Okay? Now, you've heard this speech if you've either been in a room with me or you watched the live streaming of Josh and I. You've heard this. What I really hope this morning is that you hear it slightly different, considering the fact that in about 5 hours, we're literally going to make Command and the new Kelly generally available to everyone in the company. Worldwide. Okay? The magnitude of what has been done and what we are accomplishing is beyond most businesses' comprehension, right? And yes, you understand, in our organization, we had more people join in January than we've ever had in the history of the company, right? It was. Yeah, and when you think about, look at the size of this room. You do understand that you yourselves are bigger than almost all the brokerages in the United States just in this room. When you look at the size of the people in attendance, which is in excess of 17,000, you do understand that the attendees here are larger than 99% of the competitors who are trying to compete against you. That's how big you are. And that's how big the challenge is to try to build technology that can scale at the size that you have built your businesses. It's an enormous, in fact, the folks at Google say it's on par with building Netflix. Yep, no, it's true. That's the complexity. That's the complexity of it. It gives us heartburn. So let's go. So if you and I were having a meeting today, which we are, and the conversation was around, Gary, how do I build a highly successful business? I would literally go to the ELMO and I would draw that. And I would say that this is the path of all great businesses, okay? Now, if you, I drew it too big.
Short-lived business.
Yes, short-lived business. I was going to say that. All right. So this would be that path. And most people don't understand this path, but this path essentially goes into 4 cycles. Now, why am I telling you all this? And the reason I'm telling you this is because the biggest challenge that you and I have today is that our industry does not actually understand what's coming in the world of technology. So when we throw out words like platform or a microservices, when we throw out artificial intelligence, when we throw these words out, the industry grabs those words and then bastardize what they mean, right? We read these descriptions of what your competitors are doing in the technology space, and we just roll our eyes a little bit and we go, is there no adult reading this? Does anybody, no one's calling them on the fact that we don't even know what that means, right? So this is our challenge, and that is there's this thing called working in your business versus working on it, right? And 99% of our time, your time, is in the business, day to day, right? Helping people buy and sell real estate, correct? Okay. So what's happening is while we're all out here tending to business, there is a movement going on in the world that threatens every current business model in every industry. You hear that? Okay. So I want to talk to you about that again because I need to bring depth to your understanding because these are your businesses, you are the leaders of these businesses, and it's incumbent that you understand this. So, but if we were just having a master's class on building a great business, I'd put this up there and I would say, here's what happens. You enter the game here, and if you are competitive enough and successful enough, then you get to come play here. But you have to do the right things. If you don't do the right preparation work in number 1, you will still exist when number 2 is going on, but your business will look like this. It'll look like that, okay? Those who play in this circle correctly, this is the innovation circle. This is setting the stage for it. This is the innovation circle. The innovators are now fighting to see who are the 5 to 7 that get to play at this level right here. And if you think of any industry, when Jay and I wrote The One Thing, we challenged our research team to go out and try to prove our premise wrong. We had observed it, we then wanted them to prove it wrong. And what they came back and said is, well, we weren't wrong. And that is, you can take any industry and there are no more than 5 what we call major dominant players. Go back to your markets and see if you can find more than 5 in a market. Go back and see if you can find more than 5 agents depending upon the micro markets that agents work in. You won't be able to do it. And you can go to any industry and you will find that there are no more than that number, okay? So what you realize is as a business owner, Your whole goal is to make it into the final round. Yep, everybody understand that? That's the goal. If you're not in the final round, then I would turn to you and say, you need to think, what am I missing? Am I missing an idea? Am I missing a person? There's some reason why you're not there, okay? So that's the game that you play. If, in fact, you get to play there, at some point, what's going to happen is the world's going to change. This cycle right here of now you have to reinvent yourself and everybody's back to the starting gate, that used to be 30 years, 40 years. In other words, you could invent a way of doing something or a model for running a business, and you could have a run of 30, 40, maybe even 50 years before you never had to change your model. So you could start a business with a product or service. You could be in your 20s, and you could retire or sell that business 40 or 50 years later, having never had to change much of anything. Does that resonate with you? Okay, right? The Kleenex industry. You pick one, it doesn't matter, right? But understand that that's not true anymore. Models don't last as long. And you can all silently curse, right, and go, dadgummit, I wish I was back in an era where they did, so I didn't have to deal with change. But, okay, thank God you're alive, but you're going to have to deal with change. We all are. So that's where we are. Models are collapsing faster and faster, and what happens is, as successful as any business it can be, at some point right now, you find yourself back at the starting line with brand new businesses that have never existed before. And all of a sudden you're going, but hold it, I'm really successful, I've been doing this a long time, why should I have to change anything? And I just told you why. And that is models collapse. Now, why are they changing in faster cycles? Well, here's why. The reason is because you're in the technology era, and that changed everything. So let me kind of walk you through that real quick, okay? So we started out with computers, right? You had IBM and Sperry Rand fighting it out for commercial technology, right? Right? And they battled through that. At one point, they wanted to get into personal computers. They hired Bill Gates and Paul Allen and asked them to build out the software for the IBM computer. And then at some point, the internet showed up. And then at some point, you ended up with a cloud data service plan, right? That's a commodity. Today, you can get all of that for less than $1,000. Every one of you right now have a computer either in your pocket or in your briefcase or in your backpack. Yes or no? Yes, you do. And you have software on it, you have an internet connection, and you have a data plan. Yes or no? About $1,000. Yep, at most. And by the way, that's what this was in our industry. Understand that this was enough to totally upend Blockbuster or Borders books. This was enough to literally go upend, pick a business, right? Blockbuster, right? With Netflix, right? Or Amazon taking on Barnes and Noble, right? So we could go through all the list. The travel industry. Why did this not do that to you and I? Why did the beginning of the tech industry? Because as you'll see in our talk tomorrow when we go through the industry stats, which we do every year, and we look at commissions and sales and income and all those things to try to get a sense of what direction things are going. Folks, people still use real estate agents. Our commissions that our people charge on average are exceedingly very close to what they've ever been. Right? So why didn't this happen? There's one single answer. Because you control the data. The entire industry of 1.3 million people in the United States, plus Canada, wake up every day and you go and you convince sellers or get sellers to sell their home, and you control that creation of that data and you put it in there. And you, as a real estate agent, are the fiduciary of the transaction. Right? Yes? Yeah, okay. That, by the way, is the simple reason why that you didn't get disrupted here. Challenged, but not disrupted. In other words, here we are, how many years later, over a decade later, and the aggregators and the national internet-based discounters have not unseated you, yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah, they have not unseated you. The statistics are very clear on that, okay? But here's the challenge. That was round one. And what we tend to do is we tend to overestimate the short term, and then when it doesn't work, we turn around and underestimate the long term. It's like those commercials where someone jumps up and says, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, right? Okay, we're okay. We're fixing not to be okay. Except for us. We'll talk about that. So here's, now understand that's overselling a little bit. And we talk about that, but we don't say that as hype. We say it as actual observation. We could be proven wrong to various degrees, but I think by the end of this morning, you're going to realize that it's not. We're not bragging. We're not trying to convince you of something. We're actually just talking from our own observations and convictions, okay, of what we see and understand. So what is this right here then? Well, this has been actually labeled the fourth industrial revolution. Now, here's the thing. When someone tells you you're in an industrial revolution, and there's only been 3 in the history of man before this, you should sit back and go, maybe I actually should think about this. Now, when someone tells you that it's an industrial revolution, what do they mean? Well, yeah, big change. What they mean is they mean something has been invented that will now touch every life on the planet and will change the living experience for every person on the planet. Now, if you happen to be alive and breathing during the invention of an industrial revolution, what should you do? Should you ignore it? Should you go, who cares? No big deal. Revolution, schmezolution, whatever, right? Who cares? I would caution against that. That basically is putting your head in the sand and hoping that when you pull it out, life is as you knew it before you went into the hole. And it won't, that's not what's going to happen, okay? So this right here, now what's the revolution? Well, it sounds very airy-fairy at first, and that is it's big data powered by artificial intelligence, okay? Now, that, by the way, is what they're talking about. So let's talk about big data. So you've heard me give these analogies. The reason why I keep repeating myself instead of telling you different things is I'm trying to drill it into your head. So forgive me for being repetitive, but I don't change much of what I say. I could. I get bored with it, personally. Laugh. I need a laugh track. I need something. Yeah, because I say it over and over and over. People go, God, you got to be tired of saying this. I go, okay, here's the point about that. And that is I'm saying it over and over so the people that matter most to me in my life ultimately understand what is being said, okay? There are some books you can read on this. One's called Platform Revolution, right? Another one is What Happens When Machines Do Everything. Another one would be Thank You for Being Late. Thank you for being late. Now again, you're gonna pick these books up and immediately you're gonna go, hold it. This is not a crime novel. This is not a whodunit. This is not right. This is not someone's bought the rights and you're gonna make this into a movie. Your eyes will roll in your head as you go through this. Trust me. My goal and Josh's goal today is that you can just thumb through these. If you have the foundation of what we're going to tell you, then you can thumb through these and just get a sense of what the world is moving to. So here's an example of big data. When I say big data, I don't mean little data. Okay? So when I say big data, we're talking enormous amount of data. So let me give you an example of how data and AI would work. So let's pretend that you woke up in the morning, and you've heard this analogy, but listen, just breathe and listen to it again. I wake up in the morning, and I have a spot on my arm. And I take my phone out, I take a picture in my medical app, and immediately it says, we have a 99.9% confidence rate that is a brown recluse bite. Okay? And, oh, by the way, we have your medical records. We know what you're allergic to. We've put in an order for a prescription that if you take it till the end, we have a 100% cure rate. Noticed in your Google Calendar that you have time at 3 o'clock today, and we've synced that up with the doctor. Click yes if you want an in-office visit. Click yes if you want a phone visit. Have a nice day. Now, here's the question. Do you think your individual doctor has enough data in that they've experienced in their life to, with just their information, build an app that could recognize anything on your body and diagnose it in nanosecond? Okay, you are that doctor. You are that doctor. You don't have enough data. But let's go one step further. If they had a practice of 10 amazing doctors, do you think those 10 amazing doctors would have enough data to then go and be able to build this with 100%, 99.9% accuracy? Not even close. Not even close. Do you think a hospital would? No. And so here's the challenge. The challenge is who has that data? Big pharma and insurance. Yeah. How's that make you feel? Right? Yeah, I was reading an article the other day about the opioid crisis, and it said that the places in the country that had the worst epidemic of it is where doctors were prescribing it that were called on by opioid salesmen. So the higher the sales calls into an area, the more doctors prescribed it, and the more that people were dying from it. You see that? Okay. So I don't know that we want big pharma or insurance driving our world, right? Okay. So let's think about this for real estate. So if I ask you right now that I want you to go out and get all the data that you ever had on real estate, and I want you to bring it back into this room. Let's think of this as a computer, if you will. And I want you to put all this room, right? And so we have scraps of paper everywhere. And then I say, okay, I'm going to pick up one piece of information, and I now want you to tell me its relationship to every other piece of data in this room. Go. Oh, by the way, if you happen to be able to do that, then what I want you to do is set that piece of data down, and I want you to pick up another piece of data and then tell me its relationship to everything in the room. I'm going to ask you to do that with every single piece of data in the room. But wait, let's say that you did that in the next million years, and you came back and said, okay, smart Alec, I've done it. I say, cool, no problem. Now pick up any two pieces of information, and I want you to tell me its relationship to every single piece and every two pieces of information in the room. And when you're done with that, pick up another one and do it, and another two and do it till you've done all of that. Well, let's just fathom that you did that in 100 million years, and you now had that. Be aware that I'm then going to ask you to take any 3 pieces of data and do that, any 4 pieces of data, any 5 pieces, every 100 pieces, every 1,000, every 100,000, every million, every 10 million, every 100 million. You get that? Okay. So the interesting thing is that this right here is really good about retrieving a piece of information. So if I go in and ask it to find something for me, the current technology that you use is really good at going and getting it and coming back and telling you exactly where it is. Yes? Does a really good job of that. By the way, it doesn't do a good job of that. It doesn't do a good job of what I just described. Okay? So in the industry, a lot of people then say, well, okay, so who's going to have our data, right? Are you going to have it? And my response to that is, someone's going to have it in our lives. Because in order for artificial intelligence to do the miraculous things that it can do to change our lives, we all have to band together. That makes sense? So then you get to pick someone. And as you've heard me say, I'm applying for that job. And I think if you look at my my James Taylor moment. It's awesome. By the way, he is 70 years old, and he's amazing. He's awesome. Yeah. Someone's going to own our data, okay? My comment very openly is, I'm applying for the job. And I think my resume speaks for itself, right? Yeah, I think it does. By the way, also, we're the only privately owned real estate company of any size at all. And hang on. And that, by the way, is important. Why? Because we're not being driven by earnings or IPOs. We're not being driven by some way, some manner to monetize that data in some way. I heard a gentleman who runs a national real estate company make the statement the other day at Inman, calling for a national CRM and a national MLS. By the way, those are the most dangerous thoughts ever invented on the planet, because what you heard was a national real estate company saying, we want to be the company that builds that, and we want to control all of that. And the reason why they said CRM and MLS is that's two pieces of that. Those are the different sides of the puzzle. They didn't say one, they said both, which was a clue about what their intent is. Most dangerous person in the industry is someone who makes that statement. Okay? If they're a publicly traded company or if they're venture backed and they intend to go public. Makes them very dangerous. Got it? All right. So this essentially is what big data and AI is. Okay? So let's talk about that. So people go, well, okay, got it. So what? Okay. Let's go one step further and we'll talk about that. So let's just pretend for a second that this, by the way, is big data. And let's just say that this is your company. Understand that the benefit that we all have is our market center owners agree every day to share their profits back with the people that contributed in some manner to building their company, okay? Because we have a profit share and because we all used one system starting back in the late 80s, all that data that occurred is in our system, right? When you joined us approximately 4 years ago, that was your aha. Yep, that you had, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have built the largest real estate company the world's ever seen. And with that, you had a treasure trove of opportunity where typically the people that are wanting to innovate and invent and disrupt a space are the ones that have no market share, right? The incumbent, the largest players are trying to not change anything. And so here you have this company that you've built that's so big, and you have this appetite to keep innovating for the agents and the consumers, and you have the largest centralized repository of real estate data out there because you've been connecting data for the last 30 plus years through profit share and transactions. The only thing was that data wasn't connected yet, and so that's what we had to start.
Forget the $1.2 billion paid out in profit share. If you set that aside for a second, the greatest gift of all of us as business owners using profit share is it gave us, as he said, a centralized location for all the data. Now compare that to any competitor. So that's KW. So let's just say we're a gold standard there. And then, by the way, let's pick any real estate company you want to name on the planet. Just any one. Just name them, right? And here's what you're going to find out. I'm not going to name names, but here's what you're going to find out. That's where they all are. Every one of them. And there's a couple of them that are actually here. And again, I'm not going to name names, but there are some that are here. Why? Well, because they don't actually all use the same system. You thought they did, but some companies went out and acquired other companies, and then they left their operating systems in there. Some companies are franchise companies, but they never had a reason to require that all their businesses share the same operating system. So you had a reason. You couldn't function without that, right? But the rest of the industry didn't do what you did, and they never had a reason. Make sense? Yeah. So they don't have the data. Okay? So let's change and they just don't have it. Okay? Number two, let's change. And by the way, one of the reasons we know they don't have it is when we bought Smarter Agent and ended up being able to look inside the underneath the hood of a lot of our competitors, because that firm had been hired by them to build their tech. Right now, we own the company that's supposed to build Berkshire Hathaway's tech. That's odd. That's a really odd thing, Mike.
And 300 of the largest independent brokers in the country.
Yes. And we've been very upfront about this. That wasn't our intent to go to harm anybody, but we do have their data.
It was a benefit.
Look, true story. We offered Berkshire Hathaway the opportunity to pay what we paid for the portion that was devoted to them, and we even offered the employees to go with them. We said, no harm. We're actually not here to harm you.
This is the problem with publicly traded companies.
And they can't answer. They just can't answer. And we're going, David, what are you talking? You should do this. We're saying, look, you don't have to do this, but you should do this. You'll get your mojo back. You will, right? Yeah. So when Mike McCann takes the stage later today as former number one Berkshire Hathaway in the world, you guys are so weak. I would prefer you not to clap, because it's just. I'm going to invite some of y'all up as my guests to stand up here, and then when the weak clapping happens, you'll realize it, and then you'll go, y'all need to stop. Get your act together. Pick your moment and have a moment. But when it'd be kind of like someone played a song and 10 go, ooh. Okay. Doesn't really work for the performer. Yeah. When Mike takes the stage and.
That was a moment.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a moment.
And that was a good one, yeah. So anyway, when Mike takes the stage and says, one of the reasons that this was the only way I would come is because of the technology. This is what we were trying to tell our competitor, because this is a cooperative industry, right? They can't make a decision because they're a publicly traded company. They can't do it, right? So let's just change that to AI. By the way, you know the answer to that, because if they had the artificial intelligence, you would know it, yes or no? Yes. They would tell you. They would flat tell you. That's exactly right. And the answer is a big fat 0. And again, you're well aware of this, that in 2018, there were multiple contests. Inman did it, NAR did it, around technology. And in both cases, your company won the #1 technology award. In both cases, nationally. Not a tech company, right? Just a bunch of realtors who shouldn't be building tech. Yet you won both, right? And you won it for artificial intelligence. In fact, what was interesting is the second award, the one that was awarded to you from NAR, we built that in less than 30 days. Literally. And like,
all of you guys. It's all of you guys.
Yeah. No, I'm just pointing out to you, and we'll explain why that was able to happen so fast. Okay? But my point we want to make to you is that If the battle is this right here, your real estate competitors didn't get that. So let's go one step further. So let's look at the industry and get perspective on this. And that is, the industry started out as us as real estate agents, and at some point we ended up with this thing that we labeled, Jay and Josh and I, we labeled the tech-enabled agent. You know the impact that you have on the industry when you hear people repeating words or phrases that you invented back, right? And a year ago, we stood up and we talked about the tech-enabled agent. We talked about bolt-on technology, blah, 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 blah. Have you noticed how all that language all of a sudden is out there being used? Yeah. Yeah, it's because you are ahead and you're the pace car here, okay? Yep. So, by the way, MLS was the first really good example of that, okay? Simple tech, yep. At some point, we have the agent-enabled tech, right? And oh, by the way, the best really first example of that was Realtor.com. And again, if you don't know that story, the people that ran that went to prison. See, none of you were born. But I was there. And I know this because my friend Mike Long, who I went to church with, was personally hired to save Realtor.com, even though he lived in Austin. Was hired to save Realtor.com and prepare it to be sold. And they sold your name to Rupert Murdoch. Okay, that was NAR's big invention. Yeah. And then the last one is, okay, maybe someday it'll just be tech. So let me calm you down real quick. That's not going to happen. And how do we know that? Well, because we now know for certainty that the best experience that can be had is some combination between virtual and physical. 100% virtual is not as good as the combination. How do we know this? Well, let's start with a fact, and that is the second most valuable business on the planet is number one in sales per square foot in retail sales. Apple computers. So you never thought about it, right? You just went to an Apple store and thought, this is really cool. And you never thought about the fact that that's a technology company, that's a virtual company that just opened a physical store. Interestingly enough, the rest of the tech industry kind of missed that until all of a sudden Amazon went, could have had a V8. Next thing you know, they're opening up what? Bookstores, right? So they went around saying that physical bookstores are dead. It's all going to be virtual, right? Sound familiar in the real estate industry? Virtual is going to take over everything. What happened? No, because they can't get the market share. They can't get, Amazon is if you took out their cloud service, this would not be a successful company.
People still want that physical experience.
People still want that. When you hear about the mattress company Casper, 100% virtual, changing the mattress industry, and all of a sudden they're announcing 300 locations, what are they telling you? Why did Amazon buy Whole Foods? Why did they announce they're putting in 3,000 Amazon Go convenience stores? I thought we were supposed to be living in a 100% virtual world where I never have to leave my couch. Now, the two most valuable companies on the planet that are virtually based are telling us, no, we need you to get up off the couch and actually go to a physical store of ours.
Interesting quote from the Casper CEO was, they try to go 100% online, and he recently said, mattress stores aren't dead, boring mattress stores are dead.
Yeah, so let's remember that, right? Sure, I fell in love with these shoes, Allbirds. I went to New York to celebrate my brother-in-law's 70th birthday. We got up in Soho, got off of the subway, came up, and there was an Allbirds store. I thought they were 100% virtual. Turns out they're not. Then I went around the corner, and there was Stance Socks, right? The largest seller of socks in the world right now, and all virtual, and then there's a store. And I went, what's going on? Nothing makes sense to me anymore, right? I'm not in Kansas, you know. I mean, I thought we were supposed to be living in a 100% virtual world, right, where everything is virtual, right? How can we now all of a sudden be having the most important companies technologically on the planet telling us it's a lie? Actually, we're going to have physical and virtual. You get the analogy? Okay, good. Good. All right. So we know that's not going to happen. That ship sailed. So what it leaves us with is this. And that is there is a battle that is being waged in our world right now. And the battle is over who's going to be the fiduciary and who's going to be the functionary. In the tech-enabled agent world, the agent is the fiduciary and the tech works for the agent. In the agent-enabled tech, the tech is the fiduciary and the agent works for the tech. Right? So when I write the name Zillow up here, and everybody thinks I'm a Zillow hater. I am not a Zillow hater. I'm not. Now Zillow calls us and says, would Gary be nice on the stage? Let me just say. Well, by the way, the reason why agitated Gary, I'll tell you two things. Number one, the reason why agitated Gary showed up in a manner that if you had been with this firm for a while, that you had never seen me behave before, it was because we knew we still had a year before we actually started delivering on the technology that we'd been working on for 4 years. Because we were building a platform in a garage. We were not building bolt-on technology. And we had to literally reinvent ourselves, right? It takes a while to do that. So what you saw me doing was waxing and talking about all these other things and also calling people out who were misleading. And I'm done with that because we're here. We don't actually need to do that anymore. And I'll leave that at that. So Zillow, love them. Have no problem with them whatsoever. Brad M and I are best friends. You're just not going to hear any more from me. And the reason is because it's unnecessary. Okay? They're going to have to deal with you now. Okay? So they're awesome. They're awesome. Okay? And they provide value, and God bless them for that. So when we put the aggregators, and it could just say aggregators. When we put aggregators in here, here's the challenge, and that is, they literally want you to earn 1%, or they want to take a 35% referral fee. But that's just today. There is if you look at the handwriting on the wall, these organizations. In fact, did you send that to me? That was that
John.
Investor.
It was John Keller.
Okay, John Keller sent that to me. So what did it say?
It was analysts.
You want to tell us?
That Zillow's long-term opportunity is to marginalize the agent into nothing.
So an investor report said that Zillow's long-term strategy is to marginalize the real estate agent's income.
They're long on Zillow.
They are long on Zillow. Doesn't make all my rantings sound so, unfounded, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll let that analyst do the talking. Okay. But that's what that is. If we come on down, then we can look at the open door, right? OfferPad, Knock, and this whole other group. And understand they're all coming at the same issue from a different perspective. But I will promise you that they are all going to end up in the same place, and that is an end-to-end platform. That's where they're all headed. And when they say they're not, or they say that they want to work with the real estate agent, I will assure you that that all of them only want to work with the real estate agent until they don't have to. Think of it as Uber using Uber drivers and then taking the money they make from Uber drivers to create driverless cars. Anybody see the disconnect? All right? Woohoo, love our Uber. We're putting ourselves out of business. Yay! It's awesome. Okay. These guys want you to earn 1%. You beginning to get this, right? We could come in and look at the discounters from Redfin to you name it, and it's all the same thing, okay? And what they're really doing is they want the tech to be the fiduciary, and they want the agent to be the functionary. Got it? Okay. We jump on this other side, and so here becomes the question. Now that we've had this conversation, we can jump in here and we can put Zillow in there. We can put Redfin in there. Now name one real estate company that you can put in there right now at the most important moment in the real estate industry's history. Now, I want you to understand again that this is all working on the business, not in it. So you can walk out the door and you go, all right, I'm fired up. And then you realize nothing has changed yet. You see my point? So it's a little tough to connect these dots. Now, here in a couple of hours, the battle begins. But the point is that up until this moment, there's been literally no real proof other than building the largest online referral network in the world.
Yep.
And building the first artificial intelligence engineered product that you were allowed to use. Other than those proofs, there wasn't any proof that actually this is all changing. But here, the journey starts today. It'll take, we'll show you our roadmap about, and it's also out there. So we've now put it in writing, and we've named it by quarter on our releases. So we're sticking our neck out there now. We're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do and when we're going to hand it to you. Okay? Yep. See, that's that. Start texting each other. Okay, we're going 5 minutes. We're all going to clap. Yep. Okay. Does this make sense? Okay. So that's what's going on. Now, again, if you don't understand, the reason why this is important is we call this perspective. And if you don't have perspective, you don't understand, right? A good example, this is when I'm teaching kids, I put a dot there and I go, tell me the direction the dot is moving. And they go, how would we know? Say real simple. What was its path before there? You tell me the past, and I can run a line out and tell you where the dot's going. That makes sense? So the reason why perspective matters to you and I is because it tells you where the puck is going. It tells you where the dot is moving. Okay? And you can now see it. The thing about let me give you some simple examples of what's changing. In MREA, we wrote about the membership industry, right? Membership economy. And we talked about the fact that your database is your business. You with me? The interesting thing about the world today is you're used to competing in a world where, as a real estate agent, where what you do can be duplicated by your competitors. They can do what you do, right? I got in the real estate industry, and I sold 6 houses my first month in the industry because I could duplicate what everyone had been doing for the 30 years prior to me. I could learn a script and a dialogue. I could give great service. I can knock on a door and give a handout. I can hold an open house and call everybody and tell them to come. I can do all those things. There are no moats around that. And we are seeing agents get into the business and start hitting numbers faster and faster than ever before. Yes or no? Yes. It's stunning, right? Well, by the end of this year, the world's going to flip. And what's going to happen is moats are going to be starting to be built around businesses that may not be able to be penetrated. Meaning the next guy that comes in may not have the same opportunity as the person who's in it. It is going to change. Giving you an example. So the banking industry, it wasn't too long ago that you saw the ads that said, we have 6 months free checking, we have free toasters, free microwaves or blenders, and we have Starbucks coffee. Come on in and sign up with us. And they were competing with pumpkins and pies and recipe cards. They were... You get the analogy? Yeah, they were competing with customer appreciation parties. Okay? And then all of a sudden, someone got the great idea, and they said, hey, what if... I won't pick your phone up. That would be dangerous. I don't know what's on it. So all of a sudden, someone came up with this idea called mobile banking, right? Direct deposit, direct pay. And then all of us, or most of us, went out and said, what an awesome idea. And we got it, and we put it on our phone because it's so easy. Drop it in, send it out, works beautifully. So imagine today that I walked up to you and I said, I just invented Gary Pay, and it's awesome. And all you have to do, right? I mean, we have the free toasters and microwaves and Starbucks coffee. And oh, by the way, though, it works just like what you currently have. So why don't you switch? Hey, 6 months free checking and all that if you do it. What would you do? You'd say, no, I'm not doing it. It's hard. It's complicated. It's too much brain damage to do that. Right? Yeah. All of a sudden, a moat showed up in the banking industry. And the whole world changed in that moment. Imagine if I walked up to you today and said, hey, I just created Gary Flicks. It's awesome. Got a lot of Gary content. I'm doing cool things with my friends and my family and my dogs and all that. It's really awesome. And all you have to do is ditch Netflix to get it. What would you say to me? Yeah. James Taylor. Yep. You'd say no. Now, if I can get it in addition to, maybe, but I'm not ditching Netflix to get it. I came up to you and I said, hey, I just created the iGary. It's the most awesome thing on the planet. You can make some calls. I got some cool apps, some games in there. It's so awesome. I got music, me playing the guitar. You can download it. It's amazing. You just have to ditch your current phone. Oh, by the way, my phone is free forever. What would you say to me? Not doing it. No, I'll take your free phone, but I'm not getting rid of this one. Right? Yes or no? So, okay, you need to really understand this, right? You sign up for Prime membership with Amazon, you have joined their society, right? You've joined their membership club. Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So think about that again. If I showed up tomorrow and I said, hey, you get off Amazon, I have free shipping, I actually bring it myself to your door, it's really awesome, right? I have all this stuff, it's really amazing. You would go, no, this is so good, man. I get Amazon Prime, I get the videos, I get to watch all the cool stuff they do, and they're just adding more and more value to it. Yes? No? Yeah. You get it? The world changed. The world changed dramatically in the last 5 to 6 years, and if you weren't reading and thinking about it, you didn't realize that moats are now being built around businesses that literally prevent others from coming in and competing with them. We're sitting in the real estate industry and we're looking backwards and we're saying, I'm okay, nothing's changed. When the reality is the moat's coming. The cool thing is, you will be delivering it. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. We're definitely going to make mistakes, right, and we're going to have to fix all of that, and we're going to have to learn from what we're doing and improve. But we will. So let's go quickly build a real estate company, and then I'll turn the floor over to Josh, and we'll go through it. But so based on what I just told you, now knowing that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, knowing what you now know, we know that no matter what business we're going to go into, first, we're going to have to build connected data, right? Yes. And the big data, connected data. And number two, we're going to have to build artificial intelligence that uses that data to provide unique experiences, right? Customized experiences in real time to individuals. You got that? Okay. So this, by the way, when we talk about a platform, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, Josh just called it an innovation platform. So here's the difference. right now you live in the world of software for your business. Where we're taking you in the next year is off of software as a foundation, and we're now putting you on a platform. And the reason why it has to be on a platform is so that every application is using the same data and the same artificial intelligence, right? Thus, the idea of bolt-on technology, because bolt-on technology does this. Now, where's the platform? Now, when you bolt it, it gives the appearance that they're actually working together. And you can absolutely get some data analytics from that give the appearance that, oh yeah, we got analytics. Oh yeah, we got a platform. This is our platform. We bolted it all together. And then we use spreadsheets underneath it, right, to connect it all. Yes or no? Do you realize that our real estate agents spend close to $1 billion a year on technology? Here's the thing that blew us away. We're sitting in one of our early labs, Josh and I, and we asked one of our top and favorite real estate agents in North America, and he was there with his ops leader.
That's right.
And so we asked them, we said, so we just want to ask you a question. If tomorrow morning we came in and we said, we're going to double the cost of your technology, what would you do? And the answer was?
So in that conversation, this is really early on, and we were masterminding and brainstorming and understanding what agents needed to grow their business and what they were using. And this agent was using a popular CRM that was spending several $1,000s a month on their technology, and those prices had increased by 30% over the last 12 months. And so we just asked the question, well, what would happen if they increased the price by 30% this year? And they looked at each other and they go, oh, man, we'd be really upset, but we'd have to pay it. And we said, well, what would happen if your market center increased their cap by $1,000? And they're like, well, we'd leave. And in that moment, we realized, was that agent more of the technology vendor's agent or more of a KW agent? And that's why we're doing all of this.
And that's how the industry got hijacked. That's how valued the immense value that our market center businesses were built upon got hijacked, right? And it told us we were on the right path, even though the world was telling us, right, that you're on the wrong path. I actually watched someone sent me a video of Brad Inman and I on stage, and I have no memory of that presentation, right? But there was
we love Zillow.
There was one poignant part. There was a poignant part in that conversation where I turned to Brad and I said, well, let me ask you a question. Does Amazon own its platform, or did it use bolt-on software that other people built? I said, does Google own its platform, or did it go off and buy off the shelf from vendors and build Google? Does Apple do that? Do they own it or not? He goes, they own it. I said, well, then why would you tell the real estate industry not to own it? And it's not that believe that we have created perfection. Everything that we have built, we were told to build in our labs, right? This is where we live. And we will continue to build and build and build. But I just want you to understand that right here, this is software pieced together. Right here, this is the equivalent of the software. Okay? Except that it's not software. It's actually microservices driven by artificial intelligence. Now, what does that allow us to do? Okay, so let's go into the real estate industry. This all looks familiar to you, but this is the conversation. If you're a team leader and you can't give this presentation, I'll let you fill in the blank. I would definitely not hang out with Gary Keller. I'm trying to model the behavior. this is that presentation that you have to understand. You have to be able to give this presentation. That's why I've done it over and over, and we recorded it and recorded it and recorded it. And we created the slides for it. We did all of that because this is your listing presentation. This is the presentation because you have to give perspective. So we get to this and we say, okay, so there are three players here: the consumer, the real estate agent, and the real estate office, right? Yes. So we looked up and we said, okay, given that, then there are apparently 5 areas that we have to create. Now listen to the language. That we have to create dashboards so that we can put applications on. Notice I didn't say we're going to build software. Why? There it is. Notice the diagram, and the reason it goes from here to here is why? Because that data spans that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Over here, the data, they have to literally write single programs and make a decision on which data they're going to share. Right, Josh?
That's right.
And then they bolt it together and they can share that data. So in the absence of a true platform, it looks like this is a platform. And in the you got it? Yep, sorry. So in the absence of this, this looks like a platform. Is that correct? Okay. That's where the industry gets a little confused if you don't understand the difference between the two. So let's go build a real estate company then. One last thing, someone fact-checked me, which I love, by the way. So when I first started giving this presentation, someone fact-checked me. And so here's what they sent me. And I chuckled. I said, where do you think I got it? I love that. I'm so grateful. I love that. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but I wasn't making it up. You can fact check me, right? That's what we do around here. You can fact check all of this. Go for it, right? Yep. So that's interesting. He's going to show you again, but we asked our top agents to model out the way their software works, and I know you can't read that very well, but that's their entire system. Sorry. Every box, every category is a different software program. And that's what your sales associates today use to run their business.
And so on top of that, on top of all those systems, each one of those systems costs $25, $50, $200, $500, up to $1,500 a month. And then because of all that complexity, they have to have Google spreadsheets and Trello and Slack and virtual assistants and Post-it notes, right? Like all those things just to keep it together, which is why these technology companies are using that as an opportunity to drive deeper business relationships with your agents. So these literally become the 5 inflection points where we bring our application, we bring a dashboard and a set of applications to that. Does that make sense? Okay, so the first one, and by the way that all this has been built is this way. We didn't start with consumer. We went this way, and the reason will become very apparent to you, and that is because they build on each other, and had we gone to consumer first and said, here's the new consumer experience, but we had not built command so that the agent can personalize in real time the experience directly to each consumer, and the AI then creates a unique experience for each individual and then records that back in command for the agent to know and respond to. We don't have hardly anything. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. So that's why we did it. That's why we had to do it. So that's why there's a roadmap of releases, right? First thing is begin to use command and get ready for what's coming. Does that make sense? That's why you had to do it. Right? Okay, so the first one,
take one more second. This is called Cloudmore, right? So you go from Winmore to Cloudmore. So this will take about, I'm going to say to the end of the year. We can't turn around tomorrow and tell an MCA, turn off Winmore.
We're going to do it at the end of the week.
Not happening. But
Just kidding. Just kidding.
But let me say that everyone's job descriptions are going to morph. If mine had to morph, yours is morphing. Sorry. Literally, if mine has to change, then yours has to change too. And what I'm saying is in a technology era, tasks get collapsed because technology can do it. So then we are freed up to do other things. Does that make sense? We have a lot of delegation. Well, hang on. Some people are going to struggle with this because there have been entire industries built around onboarding agents at Keller Williams. Understand, by the end of the year, you won't be onboarding people at all. The technology does all of that, you guys. And we've already built pieces of that. You will come to trust us. That, right, we're not about to, well, we're just not about to put our reputations on the line or later find out we were liars or cheaters or fibbers or braggers. To what end game? To what end game am I going to say something to you and then later go, well, he lied about that? Okay, there could be a parallel nationally to that.
We love Zillow.
Okay, so that's Cloudmore, right? So by the end of the year, green sheets go away. All that goes away. Well, because what happens is as you'll see, onboarding to command is not complicated at all. And once that data is in there, and once a transaction goes in there, you don't need to put it in there again, right? We were demonstrating to an agent who was a massive top producer in a national competitor company this past week.
That's right.
And we talked about referrals.
Yep.
And Josh was just showing him that if you put in the referral once, you can walk away because the system, because it's a platform, is like a heat-seeking missile. At the time of a closing, it's going to see, are there any attached requests for a piece of that dollar somewhere in the system? And if it was a referral, it's going to find it, and it's going to tag it and immediately pay it. Well, it already does that. That's not something we're building. We built that a year ago. That's what it does, right? And we had how many referrals sent since we released it in February a year ago?
I don't know the exact number, but I know that we are by far the largest real estate referral platform on the planet, both in number of referrals sent and closed and dollar volume sent through the platform.
Well, actually, those stats we will reveal those stats in the next day or two.
A few hours.
It's massive. Yeah, a few hours. Well, there you go. All right. So then, by the way, you have what's called Connect. Now, the current Connect that you have ultimately goes away. So in the second quarter of this year, we will release Connect. So think about it if LinkedIn and Slack and Facebook all got together and invented a real estate application to do those three things. And that's the new Connect. The really cool thing about Connect, so think about this. So Connect is how you build and service a relationship within the industry, whether it's between a region and a market center, a region and an agent, the market center and an agent to an agent, an agent with their team, an agent with their team across multiple markets. You see that? In terms of information, education, communication, scripts, dialogues, printed materials, anything you can name, all about how you build a relationship and support that relationship. So here's a cheap parlor trick, and that is because all education ultimately will be driven through a registration on Connect. Remember, it's all down here. So literally, we will be able to say, agents who took this class saw their production go up by this. Agents who took this class saw their production go down by this, right? You get that? Yeah. So literally imagine a sales associate getting a notice that says, hey, not you, but they get it directly from the artificial intelligence that says, hey, you're 6 months into the year, agents who have been in your situation at your production level did these things and improved their sales by X percent. Would you like to do those things? Would you like to take that class? Would you like to do that? And if you say yes, it's going to do it. It's going to register you, or it's going to do those things. Does that make sense? The world changes, doesn't it? The cool thing is that you will have 100% visibility into all of that because your operating system sees it also.
All of those use cases you just walked through, from the being able to make sure that the referrals paid out at transaction on the new command, from the training being tracked to the green sheet going away, all of those use cases and stuff we're going to show in a little bit are only possible when there's one connected data system, which is why we started that. Just wanted to tie that back so everyone understood. Without that connected data environment, none of that's possible.
I asked Google, I said, because my guys had been telling me how long it took to do all this, because I'd been there and observed that. So
I was slightly nervous in this conversation.
Yeah, he was sitting, he and Neil were sitting in the room when I asked, right? I just turned to was he one of the first 50 or so?
He was one of the first few hundred employees at Google.
Okay, yeah. So I turned to him and I said, so how long does it take to build that? Right, and he goes, well, now assuming that you have the data and you can pipe it in, a minimum of 2 years. So when a very well-known and well covered by Inman aspiring national real estate company announced that they had hired an AI person in Seattle and we're going to go hire 100 people to build all of this
Last month. See you in a couple years.
First, they have to hire the 100 people. Then they have to start building it. But, well, they don't even have the data. They have the data. Yeah, it's not even, yeah. Do you see the point? Yes. In the absence of understanding all of this, you go, well, that's really cool and that's interesting. And again, you have to understand this to realize that the rules are completely being rewritten and moats are now being developed that are real moats. They're real moats. So that's what that is. That's just an example of that, by the way. So a market center can literally run the entire market center virtually through Connect. Now, I'm not advocating that. But the rule that we have for you is that everything we built has to be built as if there were no physical structure. And then we will bring the physical support and the physicality back to it. Does that make sense? It's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to miss something. Does that make sense? Okay, so don't panic or worry about any of that. But when we build it, we can't have any holes in it. So we have to assume that this can do it all. Will it do it all? No, it won't. But we can't assume that. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So that's what that is. So real estate agents will be handed a tool in the second quarter like no tool that they've ever seen in terms of how they can manage their business with the people that work with them. And the market center. Here's another cheap trick example, and that is, at KWI, we send out so many emails that, truth be told, I hit delete all the time. It's true. I'm just like you. I go, oh, come on.
Gary, they love our emails.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with that, is that we have amazing people at KW, and they have wonderful things to tell, and we don't know who to tell it to, so we tell it to everybody, and then it just ends up, we keep going, oh my gosh, we're getting an open rate of 12%, and we're going, well, that just means 12% cared about that topic. The rest of them were annoyed that you sent it to them. Right? Okay, well, in a world of Connect, all that ultimately goes away. Why? Because an agent can go in and say, anytime the word open house shows up in the ecosystem, I want that in my general feed, and I want that into my feed on my open house community. Anytime the word FSBO is mentioned, I never want to see it. Does that make sense? So you literally have the ability to go, I want to hear from Josh and Gary. I never want to hear from Josh and Gary. And anything we send will either, and it can go into your general feed, or it can go into the category that you selected. So you can check in daily, minute by minute, week by week on anything that's new about open house, or you can just see it in your general daily feed as it comes in from all those sources. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the world we're headed to, okay? So let's look at command. So Josh is going to walk you through all this, so I need to shut up. So command is not a CRM, but we got tired of trying to say that it's not, so now we say it is.
The CRM.
The CRM. But it's not. But it is, right? Because the industry doesn't have a category for what it is, so we just call it that. Because then everyone, they can slide it in there. So that's what it is. So think about, again, it's all right here. So I want you to imagine, again, an agent is now, you don't even know what software your people use, yes or no? You don't know. You just don't know. And you don't know if they have a database or not, do you? No, you actually don't know. And those that do, you don't know the number, the size of it, do you? No. And you don't know the touches, do you? You have no idea. You're blind as a bat. Okay, that all changes. Now, here's what's cool about that, is we're not voyeuristically looking at any of that. But we're not. But the platform is. So the platform automatically can say, hey, you're an agent, you have 100 people in your database. People that have 200 people in their database and use these 15 touches a year make twice as much money as you. Or 10% more. Or whatever the number is, right? Does that make sense? Would you like to, then it's going to say, would you like to take the training program on how to build your database? Click yes and watch now. Does that make sense? Here's another example. We can already read contracts in Texas and Oklahoma. The software, I'm going to say by the end of the third quarter of next year, we will be able to read across North America, okay? But, so it'll take, Neil, by the way, stood up and said it would be sooner. And I said, dude, you don't have to say that. It's okay. This is good.
It's all the lab process.
Yes, yeah. So, but here's the point is, so imagine when a PDF comes in to a CRM, right, or comes into email or whatever, but in our system, it just comes into the system, right? So it comes in as a dot loop or it comes in as a DocuSign, doesn't matter, it comes in there. Immediately, it grabs the contract, reads it, sees all the blanks, puts those into a category, creates an offer management system that you have that the consumer all of a sudden gets a version of it, and any outside agent or inside agent of Keller Williams immediately gets their version for that. Now you're all working off this platform. So imagine the contract comes in, the platform reads it and says, you have an 89% chance of closing this deal. Well, remember, AI, we talked about this, AI looks for patterns. That's what it does. So remember, we're building an end-to-end platform. So at this point of it, we know, we would know a year from now that all the contracts that are written, we know if they get accepted at that price or terms, and we also know if they close. All AI is going to do is just look for patterns after patterns after patterns and come back and start reporting on that. So a market center all of a sudden in real time knows how many offers were made in a market center, and it would eventually know how many contracts were accepted. It will also know what the fall-off rate per agent is between contract and closing, or offers that they can't get accepted. Think about the power. Again, if you think about this from a MAPS coaching standpoint, I will assure you that a year from now, MAPS coaching will stand so high above all other coaching businesses on the planet that there's no way, there's no way that they can have that data because the agents don't have that data. They don't even know.
And we imagine your market center level being able to see these trends at the aggregate, and so you can see hyper-local shifts in this part of town and that part of town before anyone else in the industry, and you can be having those kind of conversations with your agent community.
Imagine you take a listing and immediately pops up and says, Marketing Plan 15 is recommended for that listing. You go, why? Well, because the patterns show that this plan in this price range in this part of the country is delivering better results than the other plans. Or here's the top 3 and that we recommend you look at. You don't know that today? Nobody knows that today. The platform will know it, though, because it has all that. So take that. I'll stop here. This is the lead accelerators, and Josh will go through that. And this right here is consumer. So consumer is being built at this moment. We're taking our time because we can't have a soft release. Where, you with me? Because, yes, and one of the biggest reasons we bought Smarter Agent was because we knew our current agents have built people using the current app that we have, and what we wanted was them to be able to get a note to an alert to update, and when they hit update, they get the whole new experience, and your customers don't have to do anything different. Does that make sense? And that's a big deal to us. We sat around and said, well, what would be the value of that? Could we buy that so that we could really, get rid of some brain damage that people would have? And so there you go. So last cheap parlor trick. So again, remember, where's all this happening? It's happening in a platform, which means once this app comes out, when the consumer gets on it, platform knows. When it gets off, it knows. It knows everything it did, everything that it did. It knows what it looked at, and immediately starts looking for patterns about when they're looking and what they're looking at. So imagine, again, an agent all of a sudden starts getting an alert that says, or into command, and it says, you need to contact these people this month because the pattern says they're going to list their home in the next 90 days. So all of a sudden, do you see that? Yes. Yeah. So imagine again, let's go out a year from now, all this has been out, and we see all these patterns. All of a sudden, the real estate agent looks up and says, oh, my database is my business. Because we'll then be able to say, this size of a database, marketed this way, generates these results. Does that make sense? Yeah. My last prediction, by the way, and that is just as we have real estate agents who have big businesses that bought market centers, I believe that we're going to usher in an era where market centers turn around and have agent businesses. And the reason why is because the ease and the ability to do that. And you can the market center will either have its own stand-up where it has a database of 15,000, no big deal, right? That already occurs in this company. It already happens now, but it happens reverse. The agent has the business and then buys the market center. I believe that every market center at some point will reverse that because it'll just be too simple and easy to do. And they can either have the team or they can hand those out as referrals, whatever they want to do it. Do you see what's happening? Yeah. So again, remember, at the time, we now have an end-to-end platform. People talk about it, but this year you will have an end-to-end platform where we start back at the consumer interacting with a consumer experience for a mobile app or website, and then all of a sudden it goes all the way to become a listing or a contract, and then goes to closing. And we have the information on all of that. Does that make sense? Yes. In other words, yes, our job is to listen to you, to listen to our agent partners, and build what we're told to build so that enough people use it so that this literally becomes the smartest real estate platform on the planet. Now, here's the last question. How do your competitors compete with that tomorrow? They can't. They can't do it. Now, they'll scramble. We're going to give them the playbook. We have no choice. So they're going to get it. They're going to look at it. And they're going to go, we're going to go do that. And they're going to do it. But understand, you've already gotten your mobile app into the hands of your consumer. You've gotten your mobile banking. You've gotten your Netflix into the hands of the consumer. Someone comes along with a Me Too in the industry a year from now. What's the consumer in your database going to say to that? I already got it.
And even when they get there, Gary, we'll always be the best price in town because we're never going to charge another penny.
And we're never. So here's the other thing, though. So one last. Sorry. Last thing. So understand, we've been busy. So why did we go in the mortgage business? Why did we do that? Why? Because you have to have mortgage in an end-to-end platform. The same reason that Zillow bought it, the same reason Open Doors going into it, same thing that Redfin is in it. We had to have the ability to do that from a national perspective. The thing that we did is we went ahead and stripped as much profit out of it as possible. Now, I'm not trying to mess with anybody's MSA. That is not the intent. But please understand that without us having the ability to plug this directly into the consumer experience, you're vulnerable. Your agents are vulnerable. You with me? Because people have gotten really mad at me for doing this, and I'm going, why are you shooting the messenger? Stop shooting messengers, okay? By the way, Redfin already has this, and they already have it in 7 states. You just don't know it because they don't have enough customers for it to make any difference. You don't think Zillow's going to head there? What are you going to do tomorrow if any of your competitors show up with a free mortgage, no origination, no closing cost, $1,000 at closing to handle non-lender fees? What are you going to do? And they take a billboard out in every market saying that. What would be your response to that then? What would it be? Would you go, woohoo, this is awesome, it doesn't matter, got my MSA, this is cool, no problem. What would you do? You'd go to your mortgage company and say, we got to compete with this, but what would the problem be? Not at a local level, they can't. So imagine tomorrow morning if all of you went out and put out billboards that said free mortgages in your markets, what would your competitors say? Oh, crud. But the odd thing is that you're not doing it. And I find that odd. Right? The consumer's going to get what they're going to get. Let me just tell you right now. And quit shooting messengers or thinking that someone's mucking in your business. You're going to come back later and go, thank God. Right? Yeah. And oh, by the way, do you think we're going to get 100% of loans? Well, then why would an MSA care? We've seen MSAs pull out and you're going, okay, you're idiots. If you think we're going to get enough business that could actually truly harm the MSA, you got a stupid partner. And don't yell at me for their stupidity, because that's stupid. There's no way that's going to happen. But we are going to put them on notice, aren't we? You better give us consumer value, yes or no? Please understand, you're the most talked about mortgage company in the industry, and you didn't even know it. You are, by the way, right? You are, because they don't know what to do, okay? So then, by the way, why do you think that we went out and invested in a property management software company, and then we're completely retrofitting that to help you and your agents go into property management? Why are we doing that? A couple of reasons, but one of them is it's going to feed right into that consumer experience. So at the time that a sale is made, the app can actually manage the home for the next 10 years. That's why we're doing it. We're not going to leave any stone unturned that someone can sneak in and say, we're doing something that you can't do. And we're not going to do that. Why are we building an insurance marketplace? Why are carriers, the largest carriers out there, trying to figure out how to do business with you? Some of them are already applying for discounts to offer KW buyers insurance discounts they can't get anywhere else. Why? Because we have to have a marketplace so that we can have an end-to-end platform. What if we went to Quicken and said, hey, can you build or Wells Fargo, you build a mortgage business for us, and we let them in and they owned that? How would we know they're charging the fair rate? What control would you have? Do you see the point? That's the problem with all of that. But don't fear it. Please don't fight it. And if you get mad, talk to me. Don't talk behind my back. Did you hear the parental tone? No, I'm serious about this now. Let me introduce you to your CEO real quick. If you have a... Okay. Stop. It's all over you. Okay, whatever. Okay.
Hey, Gary.
You did do well at that.
They picked their moment.
I didn't say it. But my point to you is, we are a team. We are a team, dadgummit. Act like it. If we do something you don't like, we should be the first to know, not the last to know. That's the way people behave in partnership and in teamwork. So if we're screwing up, if we've made a mistake, or there's a misunderstanding, you should tell us. In fact, we have a button that he's going to show you in our technology where you can talk to us all day long. All right? And the last one you're going to hear about so far, and we're not done, is iBuyer. And we're definitely headed into the iBuyer business. In the second quarter of this year, we will head right back to Arizona. We will go right into the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. Why am I doing all of this? If I wanted to be in these businesses, wouldn't I have done it 30 years ago? Wouldn't I have done it 25 years ago? Say yes. Yeah. I was being truthful and transparent when I said, I really want to be in these businesses. I'm in the real estate business. I didn't wake up and want to be a technology company. I didn't want to wake up and do all of this. The problem is all of these threaten, right? I mean, we met with Open Door. Yep. We met with Eric, the CEO, and their team. We did everything in our power to say, keep us. I started off my meeting with the CEO of Open Door. What did I say?
Convince me not to get into iBuyer.
That was my opening statement.
And all you have to do is keep...
Mitch, you were there. Is that what I said? 100%. That's what I said. I don't want to do this.
And you told them, and all they have to do to convince you is come up with a program that keeps the agent into the center of the transaction.
That's what I do for a living. And that's what I said to them, right? And then we danced for 6 months.
They couldn't do it.
They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. So we're doing it. So we're assembling the team. We're assembling the money. We are headed back there. All of that, by the way, because let me tell you something. What's going to be really interesting is what the industry does when the world's largest real estate sales force is ultimately armed in some manner with that program. And they're going to see the power of the salesperson. Okay? All right. I'm done. The floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Gary. So, hold on. Keep that up there really quick.
Okay.
So, when we launched Kelly last family reunion, and we had a long conversation before last family reunion, because we knew all you could do is talk to Kelly, and we joked about it. It was kind of like Battleship Kelly. Like, does she know how to do this? Miss. Does she know how to do this? Miss. And that was, we understood that going in. And the reason we did that was very similar to how when you first got Siri, when Siri was first launched, or when Alexa came out when it first launched, and you said, Siri, what's whatever? Sorry, I didn't get that. Right? Like that was our kind of our moment too. And the reason that those companies did that and the reason we did that is because we knew on the long game, we needed to build AI that understood how humans speak. And so wanted to thank you guys because of your hard initiative and effort in getting that adoption. You've actually built that. And so the awards we've won and recognized all the way from Wall Street Journal, Forbes, NAR, Google, and Inman isn't the app that you know of, Kelly. It's the AI platform underneath that you guys have built, and that's really, really powerful going to this next chapter of our journey. We did learn some things. For instance, we learned that how we roll this out, how we roll technology out as the largest real estate company on the planet, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. And so we've got together and we set some goals, and we think 100% adoption by the end of the week is completely feasible. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. In fact, we already have over 30,000 agents on command. And we've already have over 7 million contacts that have been put into command and people running it on a daily basis as we've rolled this thing out through our soft launch. That said, what we did learn through the Kelly rollout is that our partnership has to deepen. We have to create one language and one system in how we all talk about these things. The story and the journey that Gary just walked you through, we've got to take this and create it into a scalable model so that we're all speaking the same language. So if we can pull up my laptop. So what we've been hard at work on with our product team and our marketing team is this is called technology.kw.com. And this is the one place where when someone asks you, a recruit, anyone
is this live?
This is live right now. And so basically this tells our story from profit share to our ALC, to the teams, to expansion, to tech-enabled agent. And this allows them to go through and experience our technology and why we built this and why this is so important so that you have leverage and we have one language together. Now here's the cool part. There are things that are going to be right about this site, and there are things that are going to be wrong about this site.
What?
And in normal labs fashion, just tell us, man, if it had this thing, my recruiting conversations, my retention conversations, my ALC meetings would be so much more powerful. And we'll build it. We will 100% build whatever you want us to build. And so I'm not going to go through all this in too much detail, but this is we've gone through. And this is basically Gary and I taking our recruiting conversations that you and I have had over the last year and a half with mega agents and saying what's important to them, how do we frame this in a way that makes sense for their business, and tell our story from our vision, how we got there, and how we actually design products. And so this is there. It's at technology.kw.com. And we're going to continue building more and more assets because we are 100% in this together from the start.
And let me just say that we have amazing people at KWRI.
We do.
And they've done amazing work to make all this happen, you guys.
To just touch on that, that was an idea that was recommended by you guys about a month ago. And our marketing team, our product team, our KWU team, everyone came together in just a few weeks, put this together, which is cool because as soon as you give us new ideas, we'll make the changes. The other thing I want to get into is just like Jay and Gary did around MREA, we've got to centralize these conversations. So one of the things that we believe happened in that conversation we said earlier where if you think about your top agent in your market center, and you think about how important they are to your market center, and you think about what's all the technology they use, and then ask yourself, if everyone were to start sharing the names of those different technology companies right now, they would all be different names. And they're all using their technology differently. And because of this complexity, market centers and some of our top agents diverge at some point around the technology conversation, meaning that there's too many different systems all being used in too many different ways. And so no one tech ambassador or team leader or MCA or OP could possibly stay apprised of all of that and hit the 40 conversations and and get the reports in, right? There's just too much. And because of that, these technology companies, like Gary said, have hijacked and found the economic opportunity in that and going deep in their business. Those same technology companies are holding best practices workshops. They offer pay for training and coaching. These technology companies are becoming the fiduciary to your top agents' businesses. And we want to change that. We want to empower you with the technology and you with the data so that you're the fiduciary with them. Does that make sense? And so we've been working hard, Jay and Gary and the team have been working hard on a new model that is very similar to how we thought of MREA. And this is the tech-enabled agent. And
it was the same thing. It was the same thing that we did around MREA that we did with the 7 levels of leverage and all of that. We identified with the 4 tiers of a tech-enabled agent. What does it look like, and what's the flow of developing that from the beginning to the end? And so we built it.
The important part of this, and you'll see us talking more and more about this through the event and beyond, is that we needed to create one language. And so instead of there being 1,000 different ways agents use technology, what are the actual best practices? And then how are we building technology to empower those agents with those best practices so that we have one language and we can go back to consulting and coaching our people at all production levels? All right, now let's get into the demo. I've stalled long enough. So one of the first things that we heard over and over in the labs, you'll hear us talk about this in a few hours, is that it had to do 4 things. A command had to do 4 things. And by the way, just a little tab, like I get kind of proud about this. Over 27,000 agents have gone through the lab process with us. So in one way or another, we've collaborated with 27,000 agents who everything that command does today, they said, I want to do this, and this is how I want it to work, and we've built that. Meaning that we represent the largest partnership between a technology, engineers, product, and real estate community on the planet, which is really exciting.
Well, and here's, not to mention competitors, but one very famous competitor launched a CRM and immediately had to publicly go on Inman and write a letter of apology because they had to take it back. You can fill in the blank at the company, okay? Yeah. We already have 30,000 people using ours. We don't need to take it back.
And it's going to be a journey. Like Gary said, we're going to stump our toe. And the reason we're going to stump our toe is because when you're building 100% what everyone tells you to go build, when you put those Legos together, you're going to look back and go, oh, we should have put a toilet paper roll on that side of the wall. That's a little more normal. So we're going to have to go in and like move the toilet paper roll. That's for my wife.
Well, we built this as a test tube baby.
That's right.
So now it's out there walking and it's staggering as it walks.
And we're learning in real time. But the one thing we heard...
You made a decision, and I think it was a really good one. And that was, Josh said, Gary, he said, we need to go wide, not deep. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, what we need to do is we need to figure out all the things it needs to do, and we need to at least build in at the very least, just a little functionality for all those things. And then we'll go deep on them later as we discover which ones matter most. We'll prioritize and go deep. So when we really, and I think that's right, by the way. So when you see command, you'll see the vision of it. And there are some areas that you go deep and you go, this is amazing all the way to the bottom. Other places you'll go deep and you'll get to some portion in it and you'll go, okay, this really is a 1-year-old. They put the toilet paper in the wrong place, right? It's like a house I went into once, my first year in business, and they had no bathroom on the first floor. We didn't do that, but we'll discover some things, yeah.
So,
and we get that.
One of the things that we heard very early on, and I'm on a live demo, so I will caution, anytime you do live demo, there's something about how that works at the internet and the convention center, something will always break. No, live demos are always fun. And so bear with me if we run into any hiccups. One of the cool parts about command, and one of the things that agents have responded very well to, is this idea that we actually allow you to integrate with over 150 plus systems. And so with a few button clicks, anything from Office 365 to your iPhone, to your Google Calendar, to Salesforce, to Infusionsoft, to Contactually, to over 150 different systems, with a few button clicks, you can have all of your data, all of your contacts fully synced into command, and they talk to each other in real time. And so the real use case that we're seeing of that is as people are out there and they're just on their phone, and they put people in their phone, they can set this up so that when they add someone to their phone, command just sucks it in, and then as they're texting, calling, emailing, all that's just tracked automatically. And you're going to hear that theme over and over and over. And that theme is, we laugh when people say that technology is going to replace the human relationship. There's nothing can be farther from the truth. The only job technology has is to enable more human conversations with humans. And if it's not doing that, then the technology is absolutely failing. And so we want people to not have to worry about command. All they have to do is set this up and then go be awesome realtors, and command will just go along with the ride. Which gets us to customization. So one of my favorite experiences in the labs process is we would sit down with our top agents and we said, great, we have dedicated this whole week, and the only thing we're going to dedicate and figure out is we're going to align on the best practices of what is a lead? That's it. What is a lead? 2 weeks later, we called mercy. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no consensus on what a lead is. Is it a hot lead, a qualified lead? Is it a prospect? Is it a nurture? Is it all these things? And what we realized in that moment was that if you put a lot of MEG agents together, it's always fun. And we also realized that we had to have the most customizable system on the planet. Because if you've ever talked to an agent before, and they go, and you probably have talked to them, if you've talked to them about command, you've probably heard feedback where they say, oh, I don't want to change my CRM. That's so disruptive to my business. That's gonna mess me up. And the reason why is they probably have changed CRMs before. And the two things that have occurred that they're experiencing is one, technology to date has forced, in real estate, has forced the realtor to learn how to change their business to fit with the technology, when it should be the technology's job to learn how you do business. And the only way you can do that is with the most customizable system on the planet. And so, for instance, things around, even core things are like, what should we track? You can see here, I've come in here and created, these are from our live demos. I want to create custom fields. And in Command, I can create any custom field I want. And then I can say, is this a date for anniversary dates? Is this a currency? If they're an investor, what's their amount? Is this a text field or a drop down? And I can control as many custom fields as I want, meaning that my database is whatever I want it to be. And the cool part about us than any other system is once you do that, that becomes a part of your actual database, meaning that your AI platform, all of your reports, everything can be molded around your database structure. And that doesn't exist anywhere on the planet right now. The other thing that we've again, just to show you that, so if I'm looking at all my contacts, I can click customize columns, and it breaks it up into the columns that we are called standard and the columns that we call custom. We've got a mega agent, the Loken Group, who's been one of our awesome partners. Yes. They've leaned in a big way from when we started with a blank piece of paper, and we literally were just sketching like, so what's Command going to do? And we started just drawing and keep getting it. And so just recently, I think we've mapped over 260 custom fields for the Loken Group. And then synced through the integration I just showed you, I think it's about 47,000 contacts. And we're able to do that in less than a day. And so the idea here is that Command can work at any level of production that we're working with. So, all right, I want to show you a couple really cool things now. So one of the challenges that we have in, let's go inside here. All right, so I pulled up my wife's record, and we have this thing called neighborhoods. And I'm just going to talk about neighborhoods for a second because this is where you can start, you've been able to build, because we have one connected platform, because you've gone on this long journey with us, you've actually started to build technology that doesn't exist anywhere on the planet, and we've tested it, and it has a great impact on agents' business. So, and this is on neighborhoods. Before I get into this, and you're going to hear us talk about this in a few hours, there's two different conversations that happen with real estate and clients. There's the one that you have as agents, and there's the one that your technology has. And you know that's true because when's the last time you've ever mentioned the letters IDX with the consumer? Right? So the limitations of the technology have forced us in how we talk to them, which is at the zip code and at the city level. But the truth is, when's the last time you went to a listing presentation and you brought comps for the entire zip code? You wouldn't do that. Unless you're in a very rural area. But for the most part, you would go in and at the street level, at the neighborhood level. And we understood that, but until now, no one had the data set or the technology to do that. And so when I'm on my wife's record, all I do is I click on Add Neighborhood, I view the map, and it's going to show me where we live. So the center of the map is our address, and this is live, this is real. And every little box around there is hyper-local neighborhoods where she lives and around her house. And all I have to do is check some boxes. And what's happening in the background is Kelly, the AI initiative, is taking my wife's contact information in my database, connecting it with our database of 210,000 neighborhoods mapped across the country, and then aligning that with the MLS data. And when I am creating a page specifically for her around the neighborhoods that she cares about, with all the statistics and listings at the neighborhood level. Here's the coolest part about that. I don't care how much money an agent's paying for a database right now or what IDX system they're using, there's no way to replicate that. And all we do in the conversations that Gary and I have with these people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year trying to get hyper-local one-to-one marketing, we say, here's what we've been doing in our labs process. We don't charge any extra money for technology for it. Can you show me how you're doing that in your fancy system? And they can't. And so here's the cool part. Our journey from this is to build one-to-one marketing from one-to-many marketing, which you have now. So he talked about Amazon and Netflix. What's the main difference between Blockbuster and Netflix from a consumer experience? Blockbuster had one store, and everyone went to the Blockbuster store. Does that make sense? Amazon has one-to-one, meaning that when my wife logs into Amazon and I log into Amazon, we have completely different Amazon experiences because we're different people with different preferences. The problem with one-to-many, which is what the current bolt-on technology offers out there, is you go out and build one website, and then you drive all of your traffic to that website. Yes or no?
Yep.
How many of you have recently signed up and registered and logged into an agent's website? Raise your hands real high. That's about right, 3%. 3% of the active population will sign up and log in to an agent website to see information about inventory. So said differently, the current bolt-on technology only gives agents a 3% chance to have a real estate conversation with their database. Mm-hmm. The cool part about this is when I came to this site, because this site was personally built for my wife and the neighborhood she cares about, did she have to register?
Nope.
Did she have to log in?
Nope.
And then when I go back into command,
Does it change in real time forever?
it will always, it's 24/7, anytime.
Any change that happens in those neighborhoods automatically shows up in that site.
That's exactly right. So I'm going to refresh this page.
So listen to what he's telling you. The ball's moving, the cheese is moving, the puck is moving, and we're moving towards individualized experiences for every consumer.
And inside of command, no matter when she the system will then also send monthly emails to her, keeping her apprised of the most recent information happening in her neighborhoods. And anytime she opens or clicks that email or goes to that directly because I text it to her or I send it to her through any other mechanism, this last visited column right here will update this so I can see everyone in my database when's the last time they were curious about real estate conversations so I know who I should be talking to in real time. This moves the conversation from only applying to 3% of people in my database to now my database is addressable to 100% of people. When we've tested this with 1 million consumers around October, from going from zip codes, IDX, and MLS, and we moved to the neighborhood without requiring a registration or login, we saw a 400% increase in engagement and conversion to have a conversation with realtors. Meaning that just by using this and just having a few button clicks, they can have 4 times as many conversations with the exact same activities. And like Gary was saying, we've also fully integrated our referral system now. So before we had a referral system where we were playing with different contact management. But now, I'm not going to get into all the details of how referrals work because hopefully you've been playing with that. The main difference is now this client information is hooked to your database. So now when referrals are sent through the Keller Williams ecosystem and it gets accepted, that contact will automatically show up in your database. No double data entry, no typing anything in, and that information will be tracked through the entire journey of the transaction. So that when that transaction closes, we knew where it originated from, whose database it came from, what the terms of the referral were, and on the DA, we can take care of that at closing and have full transparency and visibility through the whole system. All right. We've also worked really hard on this thing called opportunities. And opportunities is a relatively new concept. And the reason why is because no database really did this at a high level before. And so agents were forced to do this with Excel spreadsheets or virtual assistants or just winging it. And what we wanted to do is once we've created these lead generation activities, and again, we'll talk about some of the lead accelerator stuff, but the whole purpose of that is to get into real estate conversations. As soon as an agent identifies there's an opportunity to represent someone in a real estate transaction, they can go in here and easily create an opportunity. And because it's all connected, they can come in, type in a few pieces of information. So I could type in my wife. And it will start filling out all the information right there. So I don't have to do all the double data entry. I don't have to do anything. It's just all in one place. The cool part about this is actually, as soon as we hit create opportunity, these opportunities, you see this opportunity ID in the top left? That is actually already talking to win more. So now, as opportunities are created in your market center, and all the agents have to do to move through the progress is drag and drop. Your market center will have full visibility into the pipeline of your agent's health and the market. Does this make sense? Now, again, when you put a lot of mega agents together, it's always due for some fun. And so we got them to agree on this core principle that there are 4 things that happen in every real estate transaction. You have an appointment. You represent them. They're an active client. A property goes under contract, and there's some closing. Everything else was up for debate. So the way that we approached that was we had to build massive customization again. So we have massive customization in your database. We had to create massive customization and pipeline management. And so when I click on appointment, in my command, I've got 3 stages. There's scheduling, there's scheduled, and there's kept. So I'm trying to schedule the appointment. I've gotten the appointment scheduled, and I've kept the appointment. And all I have to do is drag and drop. But if that doesn't work for you or your agents, they can just click it and they can edit it and they can completely change their pipeline. So they can say, I want to change the order. So scheduling's last. I want to create a new stage. I want whatever your heart's content. In addition to that, each stage has a customizable checklist that says this is what I want to do when that opportunity is in that stage.
So most likely what happens is market centers, team leaders start visiting with their agents, and they start having best practice conversations about what would be those categories and what are you doing versus what you're doing.
That's exactly right.
Dialogue changes dramatically.
Imagine you getting a report that says in our market center, based off how transactions work locally in this area, here's what our top producers are doing. This is what their pipelines look like, and this is the conversion we're seeing. If this is you're spending too much time in this stage or in this phase of the transaction or too little. Yep. We're also using the data and AI, going to give you some analytics, both at the individual record level, agent level, team level, and market center level. So my command is actually telling me my buyers stay in the active phase for 12.5 days. And you at the market center level will understand, is that good or is that bad? Imagine having a training conversation that says the average buyer in this market stays in the looking and active phase for 32 days. So if you're averaging 60 to 90 days, let's have it come to this training class around how to find more properties more purposefully. Does this make sense? This is how connected data with real-life application allows us to move back into the fiduciary role with agents in all production. The cool part is team rainmakers can see this exact same data for everyone on their team. In addition to that, Command's going to watch your conversion rates through phases. And so we've broken up the difference between potential income and probable income. And so the more your agents use the system, the more that we can identify from our AI their conversion rates, we can actually determine the money that they should recognize all the way through closing. So let me give you an example of this. I like to use the dollar, this talks more about me than anything. I'm going to use a cheeseburger on the dollar menu. And that cheeseburger from McDonald's is worth about $1, yes? But that,
You would know.
I would know. $1.03, no. But when that cheeseburger is frozen in the freezer in the back of the house, it's only worth about 5 cents. Then, when the cheeseburger gets and goes onto the grill, it's worth about 25 cents. And then, when it gets wrapped and put into the bag, it's worth about 85 cents. And then, when it's handed to the customer, it's worth about 92 cents. And it isn't until they eat it and leave the store that they get to say, woohoo, we made $1. Does that make sense? Real estate's no different. When you get the appointment, if the commission, if you won that and closed that, is worth, just for easy math, $10,000, then it might be worth $100 when they answer the phone. When you get through the inspection, when you get through the appraisal, when you get through the repair addendums, when you get all the way through the process, you're getting closer and closer to recognizing that full revenue. Because we're doing this at real time across all of your deals, we can actually tell agents as soon as they just drag and drop, we rerun the math in real time, how healthy their business is and what's the probable income against their potential income that they're going to close, which gives them a lot of visibility that they currently don't have. In fact, one of the scripts we have in our sessions is we say, we've been talking now for about 2 hours. So who can tell me how many contracts were written with clients in your market center? Imagine if you're a rainmaker, how many contracts were written on your team and sent out to, on how much money was that recognizing, and what's your probability of recognizing that money by the end of the month? Well, here in 3 days, that's all reality. In addition to that, I've got this is my reporting. So I haven't been doing very good lead generation, or my graphs would look better, so I'm gonna have to leave pretty soon, make some calls. But this is actually a dashboard, and this is just the first. So again, we can't iterate this enough. We do not want to oversell this. We're not saying that there's no fireworks going off. This isn't like we're geniuses. This is our first act. Command will never be worse than it is today, because you're going to come back and tell us how to make it better, and we're going to go build it. And so one of the first things we heard in the last process is they wanted a simple report where they could get out of Trello and Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets, and they wanted to fire the VAs that were going and doing double data entry and all of that. And they wanted just to be able to come in and say, what's the health of my database? How are the people on my teams doing with their pipeline? How are my buying agents doing? How long is each person spending in that funnel? And then we're going to be working. We don't have enough data. How are they hitting their contacts? Are they hitting their goals in their emails and updating notes and sending text messages? And then you'll see this coming soon. Once people actually start using this in a more, when we get more data, we're actually going to be predicting their GCI, factoring in their cap, their splits, and their conversion rates, so that we can understand this is what your GCI will look like right now if you continue these behaviors. And so this is a one-stop shop from everything from contact management, lead nurturing, prospecting, transaction management, all the way down to closing. And so this, we believe, is one of the first times an agent in real time has access to all of their information, so they feel like they're in command, pun intended, of their business.
And by the way, again, remember, we started with the most complex. This is why he's chuckling, is we, for right or wrong, which we think was right, we started with the most complex agent businesses in our company. So understand that even though this is actually quite simple to use, it really is, the layers of complexity that Josh and Neil and their team have built into this deals with the most complex problems there are.
Now,
so, by the way, they want to know that. The average agent, again, I don't mean this in any positive or negative, but if an agent is doing 10 deals a year, their thinking around data is completely different than someone doing 100, 200, 500, right? And if they've got 5 members on their team, understanding how they're doing and where they are, nothing does it like this. Nothing does it.
We actually get excited on all levels of production, to Gary's point, that says, imagine now going to any agent and saying, don't you want to look and run your business like every Fortune 500 company? Well, we've got a system that costs $25 a month and will never go up, that allows you to not only have better lead conversations and get a 4 times X better return than anything in the marketplace, but also have the back end to run your company like every Fortune 500 company out there. And they can only get that at your market center. And we believe that's exciting for every level of production.
Yep.
We also found out very quickly in the labs process that agents were spending a lot of money in social media and direct mail advertising and marketing. But when we dove under the hood, we found out they were paying 20 to 30% commission for that. So said differently, every $100 that they were giving a company to go generate leads for them, to click a few buttons, $30 was being spent with the company to pay for profit for that company, and only $70 was actually going to lead generation for that agent.
Right.
Well, in our charter, to drop that $1 billion spend annually to zero, we said, well, we can build the same tools that company has and just let the agent do it and keep all their money. And so I'm not going to go through this, but I can literally just click on the few channels from direct mail, Instagram, Twitter, Google PPC, Facebook PPC, set up what my goal is, and the system will go to work building multi-channel advertising for you that's optimized in real time, maximizing your conversion, and again, for no extra dollars.
What's that attract talent?
What?
What's that attract talent?
Attract talent is we're also starting to take steps, and we're going to be working on a thing with you guys called Command for Team Leaders. This is actually pretty cool. So how many of you guys have seen a sneak peek of Command for Team Leaders? Yes. Yeah? All right. So the three things I would say about Command for Team Leaders that I get excited about is you guys have built massively big real estate offices. And the challenge with that is staying apprised of everyone becomes a challenge. In fact, we had a top agent that we were in a lab with, and they said that when they capped, which was on the second day of their anniversary, they got 5 calls from the market center and the team lead, the MCA, the team leader, the OP, the region, congratulating them on capping. Later that year, they became number 1 in the market, or they moved to number 2 in the market, and nobody called. And the reason why was, as we all know, there's just too many people to track all the time. Not anymore. Because we have all the MLS data, because we know your agent rosters, because we can see into their business, we imagine a world where Kelly can come in and say, hey, we think you should reach out to Joe because Joe just increased his production by 25% and became number 2 in his market.
Well, and oh, by the way, you'll know the market penetration in every neighborhood and who is number 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you have the ability to look and drill down on how your business is doing, but also on an individual agent level, but you can drill in on the competition as well.
That's exactly right. So the other really cool, before I get into email list, the other really cool part about Command for Team Leaders is, again, you'll hear a theme, it's a fully connected platform. So you don't have to use different systems. You yourself will not have to use Excel spreadsheets for reports and all that anymore. You'll literally just use your business and be an amazing team leader, and the technology will follow you along like agents doing their superpower, and Command just following along.
So Josh, so if I'm a team leader, did I just hear you tell me that I need to wait until team leader for Command to learn this?
No.
Okay.
What you heard me say is I'm very excited about Command for Team Leaders, and you need to help us by plugging in. You can use Command right now to manage your recruiting appointments. You have custom fields. You have custom views. You can make your database whatever you want. You can run social media campaigns. You can run nurture campaigns. You can do you can text message from it.
Campaigns.
You can do bulk texting through it. You can do everything you would imagine in a CRM. So you can use Command in your business now, and we're going to partner together this year to make it do exactly what you tell us to do so that you can be the best team leader humanly possible.
Yeah.
So the question was, will it sync with a company? And the answer to that is the same answer I give to agents, which is you have the power on who integrates with us, not us. Because we have one script. When we take the phone, we say, we love to integrate with you. Our agent's data is their data. Our market center's data is their data. So as long as you respect that and you send it over and you don't charge them extra money, we'll plug you in all day long.
That's right.
Whether they do that or not is whether you've motivated them to do that or not. So if it's important that you're using a system that you want to talk to Command and Command for Team Leaders, have those conversations so they reach out to us and they're motivated to plug in. With that, these are the more traditional things, so I'm going to go really fast, but everything from email campaign management, so I can actually build a campaign. I have my test list. It tracks clicks, open rates, conversions, unsubscribes. I can go from contacts and bulk edit and send them to lists. We have a whole library We have things called Sketchhouse where I can build landing pages, publish the landing pages, emails, collateral, listing presentations. And one of the coolest parts about this is we've done something the industry's never seen before. We've created real estate widgets. And so the way these real estate widgets work on the right-hand side is we've taken the proprietary data that you, Keller Williams, have built, and we've created it as a little Lego. So everything from migration patterns to market snaps to neighborhoods and all your, so for instance, migration patterns, or this is a market snap, etc. We expose this data so with a drag and drop, all of your agents can go create whatever marketing collateral they want with proprietary data they can't buy or get anywhere else because they're part of the largest real estate community on top of the largest and smartest real estate database the world has ever seen. And so this gives them all the power.
So Josh, so there's a competitor that a lot of these guys compete with who says that they have a marketing concierge, that all you have to do is hit the easy button and they handle all of that. You just created the easy button.
We created the easy button with smart
cost.
widgets.
Yeah.
That's right. And the truth is,
so the ability to order all of those things to be done, to literally for an agent to say, I have a 10-week listing campaign, here's the way I want my flyers to look, here's the way I want my direct mail to look, here's how I want my email campaigns to work, I want to create these campaigns to go to these people and that people. Now hit one button and it all's done.
That's right. So what we've been building, we've been working with Madison Avenue type agencies and our internal marketing team, and we've been building a library inside of Command so you can search for any type of real estate event you might want, such as a new lead, open houses, just listed, and you can drill into these templates and customize them and put them into your library. So our idea of a concierge is, why would you pay someone else to click the buttons when we can give you the buttons and click them yourself and be in full control? It's your business. You should run it.
Yep. And oh, by the way, when you get into all of this and you immediately go, if you have a reaction that says, you know, those templates aren't good enough for my market, we want to know that. Because that's fixable. That's easily fixable if you send us what you think it should look like. Do you hear that, Bill? Yeah, that's it. So this is not static. Remember, this isn't software. This is an application on a platform. We can literally, and I've seen them do this, where someone has an idea in a lab, and Neil was such a smart aleck that by the end of the lab, it had been programmed into the program and was live. Okay, don't clap, but that's a clappable moment. That's a big deal. It's not a little deal. That's a big, big deal. The point is, we cannot iterate enough to you. We did not build software. What we have built is your platform. We can make the changes. We want to hear about that. Anything that we missed, we want to hear. So on the flyers, the marketing materials, and all that kind of stuff,
just tell us.
We want to know. And we have marketing plans already built in. We'll build in more marketing plans.
That's right.
So for the agent that wants the easy button, as a market center, as a team leader, you could sit down, have some user groups. Y'all could figure out what in your market, what those templates and all that needs to look like. You can either tell us to build it, you build or whatever, so that in your market center, you have 5 easy buttons for 5 different plans that you have all built out. So that an agent who comes in just goes, do I want hit easy button 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay.
So this is the new Connect that we're going to be moving towards. And the idea here, like Gary said, is Facebook and Slack had a baby and sent it to real estate school. And the reason why is because a lot of the agents needed areas where they could collaborate with like-minded people, their teams, their market center. And so this is just our entry. This is just the beginning of it. But I've actually gone in, and you can create groups. And these are the groups that I'm a part of. And then I get my feed. So right now, just like Facebook or Slack, my feed is all the conversations happening with the group. So this is live. So you can see this. James Finney is asking, can we add a dialer to Command? We're actually integrating with dialer, or sorry, said differently. Dialers are integrating to us, so we're not at all in the dialer business. Agents are a little too aggressive for our taste. That being said, it's their data. So if they want to send their data to a dialer and do things in the dialer world, and the dialer sends back the updates, that's what's going to happen. So let's actually respond to him.
And how much does all this
We will not charge any more money for any of this technology.
We still have a few contracts left over from the era before this that we have to honor and we have to respect. And so it still has us a couple of things that we don't have the legal rights to do until September. So please understand that there are a couple of things that we just, until September, we don't have the freedom.
We're on a journey.
It's a journey, yeah. So we just want you to be aware of that.
So let's actually move over to my phone.
I think they're huge things, but you'll stumble into a couple of them.
Yeah. And again, you can drill into here into different communities and conversations. And the cool part about this is everything I just showed you. If we can pull up the phone, that'd be awesome. Everything that we just showed you is also hooked into the platform, and the platform connects to Kelly. Dramatic effect. There we go. So Kelly just celebrated a birthday. And our creativity around that is around the taking her from a voice-only assistant where you play Kelly Battleship to now she's a full-fledged app. So this is live right now. You can actually update Kelly in the App Store, and she's moved to being a full app that shows all of my contacts, that shows insights around me, market snaps where I'm currently standing, of my referral business, things I've subscribed to and connect, and that's just on my dashboard. I can always still talk to her. I need to eat less cheeseburger. My fingers are getting a little too big. On top of here, I can drill into command, connect, and the consumer app will all be integrated here. And so what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is our vision of Kelly and what she is right now, and what we're going to continue growing Kelly to be, is the remote control to your agent's real estate business so that they can just be out and working, and they can either talk to Kelly and play Kelly Battleship, or they can use her like a native app and completely run their business. From, like Gary was saying, put Joe Smith on plan 3, add Tara to luxury group, send text message to Mary, or I can do that by going in here and using the app and literally drilling into it, and it tracks it all in my database for me.
And we believe in the end that where all this heads is voice activation, meaning that what we really want to do is just talk to our technology. And oh, by the way, every time you use it, you're training this for the consumer to talk to it as well.
This is a clappable moment. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's clappable. No question.
Thank you, Mary. The other cool part is because all of your agents, due to your amazing ambition and getting everyone to download Kelly, which sincerely thank you. But the reason that's so important is now for the first time, you've got an ability to have distribution with your agents. What does that mean? Well, when something happens with their business that they want to know about, Kelly will actually notify them. And all of their real estate business and their real estate, as their real estate remote control, from what's happening in the referrals, someone texting them in command, someone visiting a neighborhood landing page you generated, all of those things that they need to make sure that their superpower of being an amazing realtor can be activated on demand is in their pocket. Yeah. And so, for instance, one of the cool things is now when someone texts an agent on command, the agent will get notified in Kelly that so-and-so text, and then they can just text back in Kelly, and then Kelly will send it back to the consumer, back to their consumer, and they're off and running, and Kelly tracks the entire interaction. Same things with phone calls, same things with emails, same things with every other real estate event that we've got imagined so far. And we're pretty excited about that.
So play with it, and then tell us where we missed it.
To that point, our entire roadmap, if we can go back a house, if we can go back to the computer, I want to show how our roadmap is defined. Thank you. This is called ideas.kw.com. And this has been live in soft launch for the past 30, 60 days, really. And this is where we do our roadmap. So I'll give you an example. I literally just launched ideas.kdb.com, and you'll see the number one thing people want right now in Command was add a next and back button on each page of the contacts. And that created 22 comments. So there's a heated conversation about that. When I go back to my database and I click on a contact, you'll notice this morning we deployed a next and back button on every contact. The important part of that is whatever Command does or doesn't do is whatever the agent community tells us it needs to do. And so if you don't like anything that Command does or our roadmap, well, I would just look to you and say, well, tell us what it should do. Make it better. And anytime an agent comes to you and says, Command stinks, it doesn't do X, we have a way for our agent's voice to be the driving force of our roadmap. And so our roadmap right now that we're focusing on, you'll see it's the big problems we want to focus on. So our next big issue with Command for agents is we want to have more custom team functionality than anyone on the planet. Now, what does that mean? That's up to you and the agents. And so our roadmap is 100% customizable from Kelly, Connect, Consumer, and Command on whatever you tell us you want it to be, which gives all of us, ourselves and yourselves, an outlet, which is if we ever get it wrong, we look back to them and say, have you put it on ideas and have you voted on it? And if you haven't, well, then this is how we all do this together because we're all in this together.
Yep. Pretty awesome.
And that's kind of where we are. I mean, we can spend more.
I was trying to think. Do you want to talk about consumer for just a second?
Sure.
And just show a little of that for the fun of it? And just talk about where we are in the thinking?
Yes. So let me cue that up on here and I'm going to go backstage and give me 2 minutes and I'll come right back out and we'll talk about consumer.
I have a song that I wrote. Yeah, so go ahead. We can just talk for a second. So a couple of things, right? So here is now I need the ELMO. There you go. So can you read that? Within 5 years, predictive analytics will drive this business. So, okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, you got it, right? Yeah. He's saying 5 years because that's how long it's going to take him. Right? Here's another one, kind of, when I said we were becoming a tech company and everybody made fun of me for saying that. Yeah, and I have dozens of these just to kind of prove my point. Yeah, I mean, just because people are slow to the party doesn't mean the party isn't real, right? And I'm serious. The biggest challenge, again, can you see the breadth of this? It's so massive. We sit down, and it used to be on Mondays. We literally we don't live together, Tara, but it's fairly close, right? And we spend so many hours upon hours together. And it used to be our Monday morning tech conversation. We could kind of whistle through it real fast, right? Yep. Now all of a sudden, we can't even cover in a day. It's so big, right? It is so complex. We can't do that. That's how big it is.
I'm ready. If we can go back to the computer, I think I'm ready to walk through consumer.
Yeah. So just quickly, just give them a sense of this. So this will come out by the end of the second quarter.
That's right. And you can go deep in this. And again, our events team and our marketing team and everyone has done an amazing job. In the vendor hall, there's an entire booth space dedicated to the new technology, both consumer and everything I walked through really quickly, or our product managers who are actually designing and building this will sit there and answer and talk about every product we have.
And here's the other thing you need to understand about consumer. We had to lock that down in order to give to our developers to go build it. When we get back from family reunion, we will start working on version 2 of consumer. So even though by June 1st, you will have version 1, I would say that by June 1st, we will probably have already completely reinvented what we gave you, and we will have in dev version 2. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, we will, not to say that version 1 isn't cool. Version 1's really cool. I mean, it definitely, It definitely, I mean, well, here's how we did it. And this kind of came from me. And I said, kind of the same way that I write books and build models and stuff. And I said to the team, I said, I want you to, every screenshot you show me on consumer, I want you to show me our competitors. So I want to see Zillow, I want to see Redfin, I want to see Trulia or Realtor.com or any other competitor. I want to see it, and then I want you to show me ours. And then you have to go test that to consumers, real consumers, and if they don't say that they like ours better, we're not going to accept that screen. Now, every consumer is different, so I'm not saying that we got it 100% correctly, but I wanted you to understand the thoroughness of the way we approach this.
So let's actually talk about Zillow, because Zillow has done a really good job in creating public awareness around I can go and get information about real estate there. And you've heard me probably joke, if you've watched a live stream, around what Zillow did really well was they were able to, how did Zillow take market share away from Realtor.com and the other portals? The Zestimate. And as inaccurate as we all know that to be, and Mary's over here saying, it's so bad. Yes, I saw a meme that made me laugh, which is, if people can believe in Santa Claus, if people still believe in the Zestimate, right? Like, I like that. But the truth is, don't get too confused, because it actually does make the consumer smarter about one thing, and the reason consumers like it. And I'll use my wife as an example. My wife loves her Fitbit. She wears that thing, she gets her steps. And I asked her once, I was like, now Tara, do you actually think it counts all your steps accurately? She's like, no, of course not. Well, then why do you wear it every day? Well, because it tells her, did she walk more or less steps today than she did yesterday? And what the Zestimate does, and its inaccuracy, is it gives the consumer some idea on, is their house worth more or less today than it was yesterday? Is their house, woo, it's going to be a day.
It is.
Worth more or less than their neighbor's house. And that little piece of information created a new consumer experience that people liked, and they got market share. In Seattle, Zillow no longer is getting syndicated by Redfin, meaning Redfin no longer is sending their listings to Zillow in Seattle. The only way that they could do that is if Redfin had enough market share. So good for us, we have another case study. How did Redfin take market share away from Zillow? They used Zillow's playbook. They created an experience that made the consumer a little bit smarter. In fact, on Redfin now, you can actually see offer details. So they will actually post different offers on different homes publicly. And the reason why is they know that they can make the consumer a little bit smarter, they can get consumers to their site. And so we're going to take the same play. The last example I'm going to use to explain that comparison is when Google Plus was announced. Do you remember what they nicknamed Google Plus? The Facebook killer, right? Here's this #1 company on the planet at the time with its tech prowess. They had all the consumers. They have all the money. They're going into social media. Ruh-roh, Facebook. Game over. Close up shop. And that's what we know happened, right? Google Plus launched. We all left Facebook. We all went to Google Plus. There's no weird scandal in the last couple years. Like, none of that exists, right? Well, no. What happened was Facebook just copied Google before Google could steal the market share from Facebook. Does this make sense? And this is why you now have Google Hangouts turned into Facebook Live. Google Hangouts turned into Facebook Groups. All Facebook did is they copied the challenger. We saw this again. Netflix comes out, they're killing it, their live stream of choice, and then the TV stations get together and they go, we got a plan. We're going to go and provide a better experience for slightly less money with live TV. And everyone said, it's a Netflix killer, because Netflix didn't have live TV. And actually, we all know that's what happened, right? We all shut down our Netflix accounts. We rushed over to Hulu. There is no Orange is the New Black. There is no House of Cards. Well, no, because Netflix just created the experience, copied the experience before Hulu could get market share. Here's the cool part. You are Netflix. You are Amazon. You are Facebook. You are the largest real estate company. with the most relationships with people on the planet. So our whole goal this year is just to go copy everyone like everyone else does before they can take market share from you. That's our playbook, and we're very public about it. So I live in Travis Heights, so I'm doing an example that's close to home. I came to Zillow and I typed Travis Heights because the number one question we get all the time is, in our new consumer experience, why are they going to use the new app versus just using Zillow or Redfin that they already use? And just like I just demonstrated, as soon as you can make them a little bit smarter, you gain market share. So I did a search. Zillow had no idea what I'm trying to look for. So it just kind of centered the map randomly in the South Austin area saying it's probably somewhere in this area. Feel free to go search around. It's actually over here where it says Travis Heights. And it still doesn't actually know where Travis Heights starts or ends because that's a neighborhood. And in technology right now, like we talked about, only talks in zip codes and IDXs. Well, remember that neighborhood page I made for my wife earlier? That's Travis Heights right there. When we take that and allow the consumer to have every neighborhood in the country mapped at their fingerprint, that they can't get on Zillow or Redfin, and the only way they can have access to what's happening at their local neighborhood or the neighborhood they're standing in right now is on the app that's branded by the agent that they're in relationship with, we win. And that's the core theme of the consumer app.
So think about, to add to that, so think about it again. If you took 100 and pick the number, 50,000 real estate agents, and they all ended up putting ultimately on average, pick a number. Let's just say 1,000 for the fun of it, okay? How many people is that? It's 150 million. So imagine again, just picking up. So if you had that, half of that, so all of our agents had on average 500, and that's 75 million. How many people do they say go to Zillow on a regular basis?
We're in the ballpark with them.
So think about it again. If 75 million people are using your app and having that experience in that app, how many people did it take off of Zillow? Do you see the end game? Why would they go back? This is why they don't like you, because you're a technology company and you're competing directly in their space. And the difference is, and the reason why they can't get neighborhoods is they don't have 150,000 people that are all locally situated who have a vested interest in making this thing work. They don't have that. They don't have that.
They don't have the culture.
Yeah, they don't have it. They have no path to it.
In addition,
all right, you got 6 minutes left.
Perfect.
Okay.
The other thing we've been working on very hard is actually working with some of the largest companies on the planet. So Google is actually one of our strategic partners, and they hold us out as one of the keynotes as large companies doing interesting things with AI. And so what we're actually doing is, for every neighborhood in the country, we're going to be building a personality matrix that says, does it require a car? Or is there parks nearby? Is it how walkable is it? And all of those things are just at a button click. So again, imagine everyone in your database, if you're an agent, can come in anywhere in the country, click on a neighborhood, see what's happening in the market, and see what it's like to live there. And we imagine that becomes a building block that we continue building a real estate experience on top of. Once we understand, in every neighborhood that they're a part of, they can easily hit a button and subscribe to that neighborhood. Like, I care about this neighborhood. Once we have that, we actually can go and create a feed for them. So you already have your social feed, you already have your news feed, you already have your career feed and your sports feed, and we want to build a real estate feed. And what the real estate feed is between the relationship between the agent and the consumer, understanding all of our data and using one platform says, here's the recent and relevant information that's happening with you that you should know about.
Yeah, so in other words, just like with your sports teams, if you do sports at all and you follow them on Bleacher Report or something like that, essentially what he's talking about is building a real estate feed where every topic the consumer wanted to know about real estate. Did my home value go up and down? Did a home sell in my neighborhood? Right? Did a home come on the market in my neighborhood? Blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense? We're remodeling. Show me homes with white kitchen cabinets. blah, blah, blah. And these are feeds, right? And the second they put those requests in, right? By the way, if interest rates change, I want to know immediately, right? Oh, by the way, because that is hooked into our mortgage, they could actually click and for no fee refinance their house. Literally, the interest rate changed. It pops up and says you can save $72 a month if you want to. Click here. Bam. No cost.
The last thing,
You see where it's going?
Yeah.
It changes everything. And this is the thing that concerns your competitors that are aggregators, and that is, this is Revenge of the Jedi. This is what would happen if a real estate agent actually could have their own tech that they owned and controlled. What would that look like? Yeah, yeah.
the last thing, and then I'll shut up, is we have this idea called Guide, and we want the consumer app to be their remote control to their real estate home ownership experience. And remember when we were in command and we were dragging and dropping clients through a process? The agent got to configure that process for their consumer app, and each one of these boxes is a stage. So when they just drag and drop it in command, their consumer app updates and says, here's where you are in the transaction and here's what you can expect. And the agent and the consumer can now collaborate just on that app.
Yeah. So, and I'll end on this note. So now you know why I'm your CEO and he's your president. In other words, the reason, here's it, and we're done. And the reason is simple, and that is no filters, right? We're all one company. We're all on the same page. We're all trying to accomplish the same things, and there can be no divide in between that. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Have a great family reunion.
Thank you.